Welcome to Zoe Stories. He signed, Now he's a girl. Alex Reynolds had always been a man of caution, meticulous in everything he did. From his early mornings meticulously planned with coffee in one hand and a to-do list in the other, to his precise work at the marketing firm downtown, Alex thrived on control. Everything in his life had a schedule, a structure, a predictable rhythm. Yet there was a side of him that no one, absolutely no one, ever saw. A side that thrilled him, terrified him, and yet gave him an intoxicating sense of freedom. Alex had a fascination with femininity, not in a fleeting curiosity, but in a deep, almost compulsive need to explore it. He loved the texture of soft fabrics, the subtle sway of a skirt, the delicate pressure of heels under his feet. For years, it had been his secret escape. Behind locked doors, away from prying eyes, he experimented with clothes, makeup, and personas that the world would never imagine. His apartment reflected this duality. On one side, it was neat, practical, almost sterile, a testament to the disciplined man he projected in public. On the other, hidden in the bedroom closet, was a treasure trove of dresses, high heels, wigs, and makeup, each piece meticulously organized and lovingly maintained. It was a sanctuary where he could become someone else, someone freer, bolder, more alive. Olivia, his girlfriend of 3 years, was the only person who came close to understanding the nuances of Alex's inner world. She was vibrant, daring, and effortlessly charming, with a mischievous streak that often tested Alex's boundaries. Their relationship was intense, passionate, and at times a little unpredictable, exactly the kind of thrill that Alex secretly craved but seldom admitted aloud. Olivia had a way of reading him like a book. One moment she could make him laugh with a teasing remark, the next she could challenge him with a daring idea that left his pulse racing. She knew about his secret fascination, not the full extent, but enough to tease him, provoke him, and push him toward the edges of his comfort zone. That morning, Alex sat at the kitchen counter, sunlight streaming through the half-open blinds, casting patterns across the pristine tiles. He sipped his coffee slowly, mind racing. Olivia had sent a message the night before, mysterious, playful, and slightly ominous. "I have a little surprise for you, are you ready?" He had no idea what she meant, but a mix of excitement and dread churned in his stomach. The thrill of the unknown, the suspense of a possible challenge, sent shivers down his spine. He wondered if this was another one of her tests, one of her elaborate games designed to push him further than he had ever gone. As he rose to check his email, the doorbell rang. He froze, heart skipping a beat. The sound seemed louder than normal, echoing through the small apartment, each chime a reminder of the tension that had been building. He opened the door cautiously, and there she was, Olivia, standing confidently, a sly smile playing on her lips, a folder clutched in her hand. "Morning, Alex," she said, voice smooth and teasing. "Hope you're ready. Today, we're going to make things a little more interesting." Alex blinked, unsure whether to be excited or terrified. "Interesting? How?" She stepped inside, closing the door softly behind her. "You'll see," she said cryptically. She placed the folder on the kitchen counter, the weight of it somehow heavier than its size suggested. Alex picked it up, flipping it open. His eyes widened. Inside were documents, legal, binding, and unmistakably formal. A contract. "You're joking," he said, heart pounding. "What is this?" "Not a joke," Olivia said, her smile both alluring and intimidating. "This is a challenge, Alex. Something that will test you in ways you never imagined. And once you sign, well, everything changes." Alex felt a rush of adrenaline. He had faced fear before, in his secret life, in moments of daring self-expression, but this was different. This was official, binding, irreversible. He looked at Olivia, searching her eyes for any hint of deceit, playfulness, or cruelty. She met his gaze evenly, a mix of confidence and daring that made his pulse race. "Everything changes," he repeated, swallowing hard. "Like, permanently?" She nodded, tilting her head slightly. "Yes, permanently. But don't worry, you're more capable than you think." And trust me, it's going to be unforgettable. Alex stared at the contract, mind whirling. His inner conflict was immediate and intense, the thrill of the unknown versus the security of his familiar life. The idea of signing something so daring, so absolute, sent shivers down his spine. But beneath the fear was a deeper, darker curiosity, a longing to finally push boundaries, to fully embrace a side of himself he had always hidden. He closed his eyes for a moment, imagining the transformation, imagining the thrill, imagining the vulnerability, the exhilaration, the secret life made fully real. His pulse quickened, heart hammering in his chest. He could almost feel the silk of a dress, the sharp click of heels, the delicate weight of a wig on his head. When he opened his eyes, Olivia was watching him, patient yet insistent. The choice is yours, Alex. Sign or don't. But know this. Once you decide, there's no turning back. Alex's hand hovered over the pen, trembling. Every fiber of his being screamed both warning and excitement. He took a deep breath, heart pounding, mind swirling with fear, anticipation, and a strange, irresistible thrill. And then, slowly, deliberately, he signed. A flash of exhilaration, fear, and anticipation coursed through him. The pen clicked against the paper, sealing a fate that would forever change him. He looked up at Olivia, who smiled knowingly, a spark of triumph and mischief in her eyes. "Good," she said softly. "Now let's begin." The moment the pen lifted from the paper, a strange energy filled the room. It was subtle at first, a tingling sensation along Alex's arms, a fluttering in his chest, but soon it became undeniable, as if reality itself had shifted. Olivia's eyes gleamed, sharp and knowing, as she closed the folder with a soft snap. "It's begun," she said. "And there's no turning back now." Alex swallowed hard, his pulse hammering. He felt different, not just psychologically but physically. A warmth spread through him, tingling along his fingers and up his arms. He glanced down and noticed the subtle softening of his features, the line of his jaw less rigid, his hands slightly more delicate. It was impossible, yet unmistakable. What's happening?" he whispered, voice catching in his throat. His heart raced with both fear and a strange, magnetic excitement. Olivia smiled, stepping closer. "This is the beginning, Alex. You signed, and now you'll experience everything fully. The first step is embracing the change." Before he could protest, she guided him toward the bedroom. On the bed lay a carefully arranged selection of outfits, delicate silk dresses, lacy skirts, high heels of varying heights, and accessories that sparkled in the morning light. Each item seemed almost alive, inviting him, daring him to choose. Alex's hands trembled as he reached toward a pale pink dress, the fabric soft beneath his fingertips. The sensation was intoxicating, soft, delicate, and utterly foreign. He hesitated, aware of every muscle in his body, every instinct screaming caution, yet curiosity and desire propelled him forward. "Go ahead," Olivia whispered, her voice low, teasing, and electrifying. "Put it on. Feel it. Become it." With shaky hands, Alex began the transformation. The dress slipped over his shoulders, the fabric smooth against his skin, delicate and slightly confining in the best possible way. Each movement, each adjustment, made him acutely aware of his body, every curve, every line, every subtle shift in balance. He could feel the dress altering his posture, encouraging him to move differently, more gracefully, more consciously. Olivia knelt behind him, guiding him as he fastened the back. "Good, that's it," she murmured. "Feel it. Own it. Let the dress teach you how to be her." Her words sent shivers down his spine. Her. The word felt strange on his tongue, foreign yet exhilarating. Alex took a hesitant step, feeling the unfamiliar weight of high heels beneath his feet. The first step was wobbly, almost comical, yet thrilling. Each subsequent step grew steadier, more confident. He could feel the subtle sway of his hips, the delicate pressure of heels against his calves, the transformation of his movements into something softer, more deliberate. "Excellent," Olivia said, standing behind him and brushing a strand of hair from his face. Look at yourself in the mirror. Truly see her. This is who you are now, Alex. Not hiding. Not pretending. Experiencing every part of this fully. Alex turned slowly, catching his reflection. The mirror revealed a strikingly different person, his jawline softer, eyes slightly larger, lips subtly fuller, hair cascading over his shoulders. He barely recognized himself. And yet, beneath the unfamiliar exterior, there was an undeniable thrill, a rush of empowerment, vulnerability, and exhilaration. He ran a hand down the dress, feeling the silky fabric, imagining how it would move with him, imagining the power and attention it could command. Every nerve in his body felt heightened, every sense acutely aware of textures, colors, and the delicate balance between fear and desire. Olivia stepped forward, placing a delicate hand on his cheek. "You're doing beautifully," she whispered. "But the real challenge begins with the confidence to show the world, or at least, to hold yourself fully in this form. Vulnerability and power go hand in hand. You have to embrace both." Alex's pulse quickened. He understood now this wasn't just about wearing clothes or changing appearance. It was about surrendering control, about experiencing a side of himself that had long been secret, suppressed, and exhilaratingly forbidden. Every step, every glance, every movement was a lesson in becoming someone entirely new while still remaining fundamentally himself. He practiced a few turns, watching the dress sway, watching the heels click with delicate precision. The reflection stared back, fragile, beautiful, exposed, and powerful all at once. It was intoxicating. Then came makeup. Olivia produced a small case of colors, brushes, and tools. Alex's hands shook as he picked up a lipstick, feeling the texture against his fingers, the heat of its potential. "Do it slowly," Olivia instructed. "Every stroke matters. This isn't just a mask, it's an expression. Every line, every color, every shimmer transforms not just your face, but how you carry yourself." Alex applied the lipstick, the brush trembling slightly. He blended eyeshadow carefully, tracing his features with delicate precision. Each movement made him acutely aware of his transformation, not just physically, but emotionally. He felt exposed, vulnerable, yet more alive than ever. Finally, Olivia placed a wig atop his head, adjusting it with skilled hands until every strand fell perfectly. "There," she whispered, stepping back. "Now, see her again." Alex turned to the mirror, hardly recognizing the reflection. But instead of fear, there was exhilaration, a sense of power, danger, and liberation all rolled into one. He was no longer hiding. He was fully, undeniably her. "Tomorrow," Olivia said softly, "the real world will see her. And you will have to decide how far you're willing to go." Alex's heart pounded. The thrill, the vulnerability, the excitement, it was intoxicating. The transformation had begun, and there was no turning back. The morning light streamed through the blinds, painting the room in soft, golden hues. Alex sat on the edge of the bed, still dressed in the silky pink dress and heels from the night before, wig perfectly in place. His reflection in the mirror stared back at him, soft, delicate, undeniably feminine, and yet every nerve in his body vibrated with tension. He ran his fingers along the fabric, the silky texture reminding him of how foreign yet exhilarating this felt. It wasn't just the clothes, it was the way they changed him, made him move, made him feel alive in a way he had never experienced. But excitement was tangled with anxiety. He was no longer behind closed doors. This transformation was now something real, tangible, and potentially permanent. Olivia entered the room, coffee in hand, eyes twinkling with mischief. "Morning, Alex," she said lightly, placing the mug on the nightstand. "Ready for the next step?" Alex swallowed hard. I don't know," he admitted. His voice had that higher pitch now, slightly trembling but undeniably hers. "It feels amazing but terrifying." Olivia sat beside him, a hand brushing lightly against his. "Good," she whispered. "That mix is exactly what makes this powerful. Fear and thrill. always together. Today, you'll test yourself outside these walls. A few hours out, just enough to feel the reactions, the stakes, the thrill of being seen. Alex's heart raced. The thought of stepping outside, even briefly, as this transformed version of himself made him both excited and petrified. He had imagined it in secret, played it out behind closed doors countless times, but reality was far different. Every step outside the apartment would expose him to the world, to judgment, curiosity, maybe even ridicule. And yet, the lure of testing his confidence, of seeing if he could hold this persona, was irresistible. Olivia helped him adjust the dress, ensuring the fit was perfect, then led him to the mirror. "Look," she said softly. "See her fully. Remember, this isn't hiding anymore. This is you, experiencing the thrill, the vulnerability, and the power all at once." Alex gazed at his reflection. The face staring back was unfamiliar, yet undeniably captivating. Lips slightly fuller, cheeks soft and flushed, eyes sparkling with a mixture of nerves and daring. Every movement of his shoulders, every sway of his hips, every careful step in heels felt heightened, amplified, intoxicating. "You can do this," Olivia whispered. "Even if the world isn't ready, you are. Let's start small." The plan was simple: a quick trip to the nearby cafe, a test of reactions without drawing too much attention. Simple in theory, terrifying in execution. Alex clutched his small purse, knees trembling slightly with the unfamiliar weight of vulnerability. Stepping outside, he felt the immediate awareness of the world. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of baked goods and fresh coffee. Each passerby seemed magnified, each glance potentially scrutinizing. He forced himself to walk with deliberate grace, heels clicking softly on the pavement, every movement careful, calculated. The cafe was only a few blocks away, but it felt like miles. Each step brought a rush of exhilaration, every stranger's gaze a test of his courage. He kept his head high, shoulders back, breathing steady despite the rapid thump of his heart. The world saw him, her, but what they saw and how they reacted remained a mystery. Inside the cafe, the barista glanced up, eyebrows raising slightly, but a polite smile followed. "Morning," she said, voice neutral but curious. Alex felt a shiver of both fear and thrill. No judgment, just observation, and yet it was enough to make him hyper-aware of every detail. He ordered coffee with a slightly higher, lilting voice, hands carefully clasped around the cup, nails painted a soft, delicate pink. Each sip sent warmth through him, a mixture of nerves and the heady thrill of being fully visible. Olivia sat nearby, discreetly observing, her gaze encouraging, teasing, supportive. "See?" she whispered once he returned to the table. "It's not as terrifying as you imagined. You're handling this beautifully." Alex exhaled slowly, heart still racing but slightly steadier. The thrill of being seen, of navigating reactions, was intoxicating. But it also exposed him to an emotional vulnerability he had never faced outside private spaces. Every glance, every reaction, no matter how small, carried weight, meaning, and risk. As they walked back toward the apartment, Alex's mind raced. The world hadn't judged him harshly, yet the experience had opened a door to something far larger, the possibility that this wasn't just a secret experiment, but a new reality, a new identity to explore. He had faced exposure, vulnerability, and fear, and survived. Thrived even. Back inside, Olivia removed the heels carefully, allowing Alex to rest his aching feet. "You did amazing," she said, brushing a stray wig strand from his cheek. "This is just the beginning. The more you face, the stronger, bolder, and more alive you'll feel." Alex sank onto the bed, pulse still racing, mind buzzing. The day had been a test, a small but critical step. He had tasted the thrill, the danger, the intoxicating mix of vulnerability and power. He knew there were greater challenges ahead, higher stakes, and even more intense transformations. But for now, he allowed himself a small, triumphant smile. He was beginning to embrace this new identity, this new life. And deep down, he knew, Once he had stepped outside and been seen, there was no turning back. He had signed, and now he was a girl. The evening air carried a different tension. The daylight had faded, replaced by the soft glow of street lamps and the occasional flash of headlights from passing cars. Alex sat at the edge of the bed, still dressed in one of the new outfits Olivia had prepared for him, a soft lavender dress paired with delicate heels. His reflection in the mirror was mesmerizing, yet unnervingly foreign. Every curve, every movement, every shadow felt heightened. Today I've been a test, yes, but tonight Olivia had something more in store. You've handled the outside world beautifully, she said, stepping into the room. But real growth comes from facing the unexpected, from challenges that push you to your limits. Alex's stomach twisted. Unexpected? He asked cautiously, already feeling the pulse of anxiety in his chest. She smiled mischievously, producing a small envelope. Exactly. You'll see. Open it. Hands trembling slightly, Alex tore the envelope and pulled out a note. His eyes widened as he read the contents. A ticket to a local upscale charity gala. It was tonight. A glamorous event, full of influential people. Strangers who would scrutinize every detail of his appearance, every gesture, every word. This tonight? Alex whispered, voice catching. His heart raced with equal parts fear and excitement. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Olivia stepped closer, gently brushing a hand over his shoulder. You'll never know until you try. This is the perfect opportunity to embrace her fully, to walk into a world where no one knows you and see how she thrives. Besides, she added with a teasing glint in her eyes, I know you secretly want to see everyone's reaction. The anxiety was suffocating. Alex's mind spun with possibilities, stares, whispers, ridicule, the potential for exposure. And yet, beneath the fear, a thrill began to bloom. This was the moment where the thrill of secrecy transformed into the exhilaration of visibility. Olivia guided him to the mirror, adjusting his hair, smoothing the fabric of the dress, ensuring every detail was perfect. Confidence is everything, she whispered. Your posture, your smile, the way you carry yourself, they all matter more than the dress or makeup. Be her fully. She is fearless, bold, captivating. Alex took a deep breath, nodding. He rose from the bed, each step in heels echoing softly against the floor. The sensation was intoxicating. He could feel the sway of his hips, the subtle pressure of the shoes, the weight of the dress, a symphony of vulnerability and power that demanded presence. As they arrived at the gala, the grandeur of the venue was overwhelming. Crystal chandeliers cast shimmering reflections across polished floors, and the hum of sophisticated conversation filled the room. Alex's pulse spiked with every glance, every whispered comment, every brush of shoulders as guests passed by. You're doing beautifully, Olivia murmured. Remember, the key is to breathe, to glide, to observe. You're no longer hiding. You're living her fully. Alex nodded, eyes scanning the crowd. Each reaction, curious glances, subtle smiles, polite acknowledgments, sent a rush of exhilaration through him. The thrill of being noticed, yet remaining a mystery, was intoxicating. Every step, every gesture, every glance in the mirror of polished surfaces reinforced the new identity that had begun in secrecy. But then, an unexpected challenge appeared. A familiar voice called out across the room, one he had never anticipated. Alex. His heart froze. He turned to see a colleague from the office, someone who knew him only as the meticulous, serious man who thrived on order. Their eyes locked, and recognition flickered briefly before hesitation. Alex felt his pulse spike, fear and exhilaration colliding violently. Olivia leaned close, whispering, Stay calm. Smile. She is confident. She is captivating. You can handle this. Alex forced a gentle smile, his voice light and airy as he responded. Hello. Fancy seeing you here. The colleague raised an eyebrow, suspicion flickering, but before they could probe further, a waiter passed by with champagne, diverting attention. Alex exhaled sharply, a wave of relief mingling with adrenaline. See. Olivia said softly, brushing a strand of hair from his face. You're stronger than you think. You handled the unexpected beautifully. But remember, every challenge tests more than appearance. It tests courage, composure, and resolve. The evening progressed with a series of small but intense challenges, subtle conversations that could expose him, unexpected reactions from strangers, the constant balancing act of posture, voice, and persona. Each moment was a lesson, each glance a potential revelation. And through it all, Alex discovered a strange, exhilarating joy in mastering the tension, in feeling the pulse of risk and excitement. By the time they returned home, the adrenaline still thrummed in his veins. Alex collapsed onto the bed, breathless, but elated. The evening had been a crucible, pushing him to confront fear, vulnerability, and the intoxicating power of visibility. Olivia knelt beside him, eyes gleaming with pride. You were extraordinary tonight, she whispered. Every step, every smile, every glance, you embraced her fully. And the best part? This is only the beginning. There are more challenges, more transformations, more discoveries waiting for you. Alex nodded, exhaustion and exhilaration mingling in equal measure. He had faced the unexpected, navigated suspenseful situations, and discovered a new depth to both his persona and his courage. And as he gazed into the mirror, still dressed, still poised, still transformed, he realized one undeniable truth. He had crossed a threshold. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with risk, and filled with both fear and thrill. But he had taken the first steps, and there was no turning back. Back in the apartment, the city lights spilled through the windows, casting a soft glow over the room. Alex sank onto the bed, legs crossed delicately, heels removed but still in hand. His reflection in the mirror was hypnotic, familiar yet utterly transformed. Each curve, each shadow, each line told a story he had only begun to understand. The gala had been exhilarating, yes, but the adrenaline was fading now, leaving a gnawing awareness of his vulnerability. Alone with his reflection, he saw more than just a physical transformation. He saw the tension between who he had been and who he was becoming. A strange dichotomy. Part fear, part longing, part excitement. Olivia appeared quietly, watching him with that same mischievous, knowing expression. Thinking too much? She asked softly, settling beside him. Alex shook his head, though a shiver ran through him. I don't know who I am anymore, he admitted, voice trembling. Is this me or her? I feel powerful. Yes, but scared. Exposed. Fragile. She placed a hand on his shoulder, gentle yet grounding. That's exactly it. Transformation isn't just physical. It's emotional, mental, and even spiritual. You're discovering layers of yourself you never dared to explore. And yes, that mix of vulnerability and power is terrifying and intoxicating. Alex's hands fidgeted with the delicate fabric of his dress. The softness under his fingertips made him acutely aware of his heightened senses. Every touch, every texture, every sound seemed magnified. He realized the thrill wasn't just in wearing the clothes or the makeup, it was in the awareness of every detail, every sensation. I feel out of control, he whispered. Like I've given away something I can't get back. Exactly, Olivia said, voice low, teasing, and authoritative all at once. That's the point. Control is an illusion. The real magic happens when you surrender. When you embrace it fully. When you stop hiding and start living. Alex took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. But the internal conflict was relentless. He thought of his colleagues, his friends, even casual acquaintances. How would they react if they saw this version of him? Would they understand? Laugh? Judge? Every thought sent a rush of anxiety through his chest. Yet alongside it, a flicker of daring ignited. The idea of being fully seen, without hiding, without masks, was intoxicating. Olivia leaned closer, brushing a finger along his jawline. There's another way to look at it, she said softly. Every fear, every hesitation, every moment of doubt is proof that you're alive, that you're exploring limits, that you're embracing transformation. You've already taken the first step by signing. Everything else is the journey. Alex closed his eyes, heart pounding. The duality of exhilaration and fear was almost too much. His mind raced, envisioning possibilities, the freedom, the thrill, the empowerment. And yet, lurking beneath it all, was the fear of losing himself entirely, of becoming someone he didn't recognize, someone who might frighten or alienate those he loved. Olivia's voice cut through the swirl of emotions. Let's do something more daring. Not outside the apartment this time, but inside. A game, a test of composure. I'll create scenarios. You respond. You stay fully in her. No hesitation. Every decision counts. Alex's pulse spiked. Inside a game? She nodded, eyes gleaming. Yes. We push boundaries, temptations, and choices. This isn't just about appearance. It's about identity, courage, and the thrill of risk. The first scenario was simple yet effective. Olivia handed him a small envelope, his name scrawled elegantly across it. Inside was a note. Text him. A colleague from the gala. Keep her persona. See if you can maintain composure. Alex's hands trembled. The thought of interacting through messages, maintaining this persona under scrutiny, made his chest tighten. Yet the excitement surged. He opened his phone, typing carefully, each word deliberate. Every notification, every reply carried a pulse of risk. Olivia watched closely, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Could feel it. The vulnerability, the thrill, the exhilaration. This is exactly why you're alive now. This is the test you didn't know you needed. Hours passed in a delicate balance of interaction, role-playing, and introspection. Alex confronted desires he had never admitted even to himself. Curiosity, thrill, and the seductive power of being someone entirely new. At the same time, he grappled with the anxiety of exposure, the fear of judgment, and the uncertainty of the future. Finally, Olivia leaned back, her eyes soft but commanding. Tonight was just the beginning. You've faced inner conflict, temptation, and higher stakes. You've learned more about who she is, and in doing so, you've discovered more about yourself. The real test is coming, and it will demand everything you've learned so far. Alex exhaled slowly, collapsing against the bed, mind spinning. The thrill, the fear, the empowerment. It was intoxicating, overwhelming, and undeniable. The duality of vulnerability and strength pulsed through him like electricity. And somewhere deep inside, he realized that he was no longer the same. The choice he had made, the contract he had signed, the first steps he had taken, they had opened a door from which there was no return. The journey ahead promised suspense, transformation, and challenges that would push him to the very edge of identity. He stared at the mirror, whispering softly to his reflection, I'm ready, but am I ready for everything that comes next? The room was dimly lit, the soft glow of a single lamp casting long shadows across the floor. Alex sat before the mirror, fingers tracing the delicate curves of his dress. The lavender fabric hugged his figure perfectly, while the heels elevated him, forcing a posture that felt both graceful and powerful. The wig framed his face, cascading in soft waves that shimmered under the light. Every detail was precise, perfect for what was about to happen next. Olivia's voice broke the quiet. Tonight is different, she said, stepping into view. Tonight, you will fully confront the balance of fear, thrill, and desire. You will not just test her, you will live her. Alex's chest tightened. He could feel the electric pulse of anticipation mixed with trepidation. The previous days had prepared him, but tonight felt like the final step before the true test, the threshold of no return. What will I have to do? He asked, voice trembling slightly, high and delicate as it had become. Everything you've learned, everything you've felt, it all comes together, Olivia replied, her tone soft but commanding. You've faced the outside world, navigated unexpected encounters, confronted inner conflict, and embraced temptation. Now you will combine all of it. Confidence, grace, composure, and the courage to face uncertainty fully. Alex's hands shook slightly as he smoothed the dress, feeling the familiar texture. The fear, the excitement, and the thrill mingled into a heady storm, amplifying every sense. He knew this was the point of no return, the moment when hesitation could no longer exist. Olivia handed him a small, sleek envelope. Inside was a note. "You are to meet someone unexpected. They will test her. Keep composure. Own the persona fully. Failure is not an option." Alex's pulse spiked. The thought of another unknown, of being exposed, of navigating another high-stakes encounter made every nerve in his body quiver. And yet, beneath the fear, a daring spark ignited. He was no longer hiding. He had to rise to the challenge. Hours passed as Olivia guided him through preparations. Makeup was refined, posture practiced, every movement rehearsed yet fluid. The final touches of jewelry, the delicate bracelets and rings, the shimmer of eyeshadow, everything heightened the sense of transformation. He was no longer just Alex. He was her, confident, poised, and undeniably feminine. When the time came to leave, the city outside felt alive, buzzing with possibility. The walk was short, but each step carried the weight of tension and excitement. Every passerby, every glance, felt magnified. The world was unfamiliar, yet intoxicating. He could feel the subtle sway of his hips, the delicate balance of his heels, the pulse of power and vulnerability coursing through him. Arriving at the destination, a quiet upscale lounge, Alex's heart raced. Inside, a single figure awaited, a person who could recognize him, who could challenge everything he had become. The door closed behind him, the dim light bathing the room in anticipation. The figure rose slowly, eyes narrowing. Recognition flickered briefly, then curiosity. Alex's pulse surged. He straightened his posture, shoulders back, chest forward, every movement deliberate and poised. Olivia's lessons, the hours of preparation, the emotional transformation, all coalesced into this single, critical moment. The figure approached, voice calm but probing. "Well, this isn't what I expected," they said, examining him closely. Every word, every gesture, every glance tested Alex's composure. Alex's throat tightened, but he forced a soft, confident smile. "I'm exactly what you see," he said, voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. "And I know exactly who I am tonight." The tension in the room was almost unbearable. Every second stretched, every glance carried weight. Alex felt exposed, vulnerable, yet undeniably powerful. The thrill of being fully seen, fully present, fully transformed, surged through him. This was the culmination of every step he had taken, every decision, every challenge, every fear faced. Finally, the figure nodded slowly, a faint smile forming. "Impressive," they said softly. "You've embraced her fully. Most wouldn't have the courage. But you did it." A wave of relief and exhilaration coursed through Alex. The fear had not vanished, but it was tempered by a profound sense of empowerment. He had faced challenges, navigated suspenseful situations, and confronted his deepest fears, and he had emerged victorious, fully transformed, and aware of his new identity. As he stepped back into the cool night air, Olivia's hand brushed against his, grounding him. "This was just the beginning," she whispered. "The real adventure starts now. You've faced the edge, Alex, and you've stepped over it beautifully." Alex's reflection in the window caught his eye, soft, delicate, confident, and undeniably her. The thrill, the fear, the power, the vulnerability, they all merged into a single truth. He had signed, and now he was a girl. The transformation was complete, yet the journey had only begun. Every heartbeat, every sway, every glance reinforced the duality of fear and exhilaration, vulnerability and power, secrecy and revelation. And as the night stretched before him, Alex knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The apartment was quiet, but the tension in the air was electric. Alex paced slowly, each step in his heels echoing softly against the hardwood floor. His reflection in the full-length mirror caught every detail: the lavender dress clinging to his curves, the subtle shimmer of makeup highlighting delicate features, and the wig falling perfectly around his shoulders. Yet the image that stared back wasn't just physical, it was a reflection of the storm inside him. Tonight wasn't just another test. It was the moment where secrecy collided with reality, where the thrill of transformation met the terrifying possibility of exposure. Olivia had left a note. "Someone is coming. You must be her completely. No mistakes." Alex's pulse raced. He had faced strangers, colleagues, and inner fears, but this was different. This was personal. The thought of someone entering this space, someone who could see past the persona, filled him with both dread and anticipation. The knock at the door was soft but deliberate. His heart lurched, a jolt of adrenaline running through every nerve. Olivia's voice, calm and measured, whispered from the other room. "Remember everything. Every gesture, every word, every glance. She is confident. She is captivating. You can do this." Taking a deep breath, Alex adjusted the dress and smoothed the wig. He opened the door slowly, revealing a figure he had never expected, someone who knew him well, someone who could recognize every nuance of his former self. Recognition flickered in their eyes before curiosity and intrigue replaced it. "Alex," the figure asked, voice uncertain but probing. Alex's throat tightened. A small smile touched his lips, practiced, poised. "Hello," he said softly, his voice carrying the light, lilting tone Olivia had taught him. "It's good to see you." Every gesture was deliberate, hands relaxed, shoulders back, posture poised. He was not hiding, yet every movement carried the weight of potential discovery. The tension between fear and exhilaration heightened with every passing second. The visitor stepped inside, scanning the room with subtle scrutiny. "You look different," they said, curiosity edging their tone. "I didn't expect this." Alex felt a shiver run through him. Every word, every glance, every breath was a test. He forced himself to stay calm, to embody the persona fully. "I suppose it's a new experience," he said lightly, voice steady despite the racing of his heart. "Something I've been exploring." The figure's gaze lingered, a mixture of disbelief, fascination, and judgment. Alex knew one slip, one misstep, could unravel everything. And yet, beneath the fear, there was a thrill, the intoxicating power of being fully seen, fully exposed, and fully alive. As the conversation continued, subtle challenges emerged, questions about work, casual comments hinting at recognition, small tests of composure. Alex navigated each one with care, blending honesty and deflection, charm and caution. Every answer, every laugh, every movement was a calculated performance, but one that also revealed glimpses of the confidence he had been building. The figure stepped closer, curiosity intensifying. "I can't quite figure you out," they said softly. "You're different. But I can sense something familiar beneath it." Alex's pulse surged. This was the heart of the test, the balance between identity and secrecy, between thrill and exposure. He smiled, a delicate, practiced curve of the lips, and said softly, "Maybe some things are meant to surprise." Every word, every gesture, every breath carried weight. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with tension. Alex could feel the duality of his existence, the vulnerability of being fully exposed, and the exhilaration of mastering the persona he had created. Then, without warning, the figure reached for a small mirror on the table, tilting it slightly. Alex's reflection was caught, fragile yet powerful, delicate yet undeniably present. The symbolic moment struck him. This was more than a test of appearance. It was a test of identity, courage, and self-mastery. A bead of sweat slid down Alex's temple, the heels pressing into his feet, the dress clinging, the wig framing his face perfectly. He felt every detail, every sensation amplified, each one a reminder of the stakes. One wrong move, one slip of the voice or gesture, and the secret, the thrill, everything could collapse. Olivia's earlier words echoed in his mind. "She is confident. She is captivating. You can do this." Every muscle, every sense, every thought aligned. He breathed deeply, anchoring himself in the persona he had embraced fully, mentally preparing for whatever came next. The figure stepped back, a slow smile spreading across their face. "You handled this far better than I expected," they said softly. "Most people wouldn't have the courage. Most would falter. But you've changed." Alex exhaled, a mix of relief and exhilaration coursing through him. The first test of secrets had passed, but the stakes were only rising. The night was far from over, and the next challenges would test him even further, emotionally, physically, and psychologically. Every heartbeat, every flicker of movement, every word exchanged had strengthened the new identity, yet also revealed the vulnerability that made the suspense so intoxicating. Alex had faced exposure, confrontation, and the risk of judgment, and emerged not unscathed, but empowered, aware, and ready for the trials yet to come. As the visitor left, Alex closed the door, leaning against it with trembling legs, heels removed, heart still racing. He had crossed another threshold, but the story was far from over. The next moments would push him closer to transformation's edge, testing courage, composure, and identity like never before. He glanced in the mirror, whispering softly, "I've survived this, but what's next?" The room was quiet, dimly lit by soft overhead lighting that cast long shadows across the floor. Alex stood before the full-length mirror, fingers tracing the delicate curves of his dress. The lavender fabric hugged his figure perfectly, while the heels elevated him, forcing a posture that felt both graceful and powerful. The wig framed his face, cascading in soft waves that shimmered under the light. Every detail was precise, perfect for what was about to happen next. Tonight wasn't just another test. It was the moment where secrecy collided with reality, where the thrill of transformation met the terrifying possibility of exposure. Olivia had left a note. "Someone is coming. You must be her completely. No mistakes." Alex's pulse raced. He had faced strangers, colleagues, and inner fears, but this was different. This was personal. The thought of someone entering the space, someone who could see past the persona, filled him with both dread and anticipation. The knock at the door was soft but deliberate. His heart lurched, a jolt of adrenaline running through every nerve. Olivia's voice, calm and measured, whispered, "Remember everything. Every gesture, every word, every glance. She is confident. She is captivating. You can do this." Taking a deep breath, Alex adjusted the dress and smoothed the wig. He opened the door slowly, revealing a figure he had never expected, someone who knew him well, someone who could recognize every nuance of his former self. Recognition flickered in their eyes before curiosity and intrigue replaced it. "Alex," the figure asked, voice uncertain but probing. Alex's throat tightened. A small smile touched his lips, practiced, poised. "Hello," he said softly, his voice carrying the light, lilting tone Olivia had taught him. "It's good to see you." Every gesture was deliberate. Hands relaxed, shoulders back, posture poised. He was not hiding, yet every movement carried the weight of potential discovery. The tension between fear and exhilaration heightened with every passing second. The visitor stepped inside, scanning the room with subtle scrutiny. "You look different," they said, curiosity edging their tone. "I didn't expect this." Alex felt a shiver run through him. Every word, every glance, every breath was a test. He forced himself to stay calm, to embody the persona fully. "I suppose it's a new experience," he said lightly, voice steady despite the racing of his heart. "Something I've been exploring." The figure's gaze lingered, a mixture of disbelief, fascination, and judgment. Alex knew one slip, one misstep, could unravel everything. And yet, beneath the fear, there was a thrill, the intoxicating power of being fully seen, fully exposed, and fully alive. As the conversation continued, subtle challenges emerged, questions about work, casual comments hinting at recognition, small tests of composure. Alex navigated each one with care, blending honesty and deflection, charm and caution. Every answer, every laugh, every movement was a calculated performance, but one that also revealed glimpses of the confidence he had been building. The figure stepped closer, curiosity intensifying. "I can't quite figure you out," they said softly. "You're different. But I can sense something familiar beneath it." Alex's pulse surged. This was the heart of the test, the balance between identity and secrecy, between thrill and exposure. He smiled, a delicate, practiced curve of the lips, and said softly, "Maybe some things are meant to surprise." Every word, every gesture, every breath carried weight. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with tension. Alex could feel the duality of his existence, the vulnerability of being fully exposed and the exhilaration of mastering the persona he had created. Then, without warning, the figure reached for a small mirror on a table, tilting it slightly. Alex's reflection was caught, fragile yet powerful, delicate yet undeniably present. The symbolic moment struck him. This was more than a test of appearance. It was a test of identity, courage, and self-mastery. A bead of sweat slid down Alex's temple, the heels pressing into his feet, the dress clinging, the wig framing his face perfectly. He felt every detail, every sensation amplified, each one a reminder of the stakes. One wrong move, one slip of the voice or gesture, and the secret, the thrill, everything could collapse. Olivia's earlier words echoed in his mind. "She is confident. She is captivating. You can do this." Every muscle, every sense, every thought aligned. He breathed deeply, anchoring himself in the persona he had embraced fully, mentally preparing for whatever came next. The figure stepped back, a slow smile spreading across their face. "You handle this far better than I expected," they said softly. "Most people wouldn't have the courage. Most would falter. But you've changed." A wave of relief and exhilaration coursed through Alex. The first test of secrets had passed, but the stakes were only rising. The night was far from over, and the next challenges would test him even further, emotionally, physically, and psychologically. Every heartbeat, every flicker of movement, every word exchanged had strengthened the new identity, yet also revealed the vulnerability that made the suspense so intoxicating. Alex had faced exposure, confrontation, and the risk of judgment, and emerged not unscathed, but empowered, aware, and ready for the trials yet to come. He glanced in the mirror, whispering softly, "I've survived this, but what's next?" The city night was alive outside, but inside the softly lit room, tension coiled tightly around Alex, like a physical weight. Every step he took in his heels was deliberate, each sway of his hips measured, every movement a careful balance between grace and control. He could feel the exhilaration from the earlier test still pulsing through him, a sharp, intoxicating reminder of how far he had come, and how vulnerable he still was. Olivia appeared again, leaning casually against a nearby table, her eyes sparkling with that mix of mischief and authority that always left Alex both terrified and excited. "Time for the next challenge," she said. "You did well before, but now the stakes are higher. You're going to be observed under pressure, and every reaction counts. One slip, one hesitation, and it changes everything." Alex swallowed hard, nodding. The thrill of being seen and tested was addictive, but the fear gnawed at him. What if he faltered? What if this time he wasn't enough? But beneath the anxiety, a spark of daring ignited. He had come this far. He couldn't turn back now. A soft chime echoed, signaling the arrival of the next person. The door opened to reveal a stranger, someone with an air of authority, a subtle sharpness in their gaze, as if they could read right through people. They had been invited by Olivia, a deliberate unknown, chosen to push Alex to his limits. "Good evening," the figure said, their tone polite but probing. "I've heard a lot about you, or should I say her?" Alex's heart leapt. The way they emphasized her was like a blade of scrutiny. Every nerve screamed, but he forced a calm smile, tilting his head slightly in a graceful pose. "Yes," he said softly. "Tonight, it's all about her. I'm fully present." The stranger's eyes swept over him, From the soft curves of his dress to the delicate shimmer of his makeup, lingering briefly on the wig that framed his face perfectly. "I must admit," they said slowly, "you carry it with confidence, but confidence is easy to fake. Let's see how you handle unpredictability." Alex felt the pulse of adrenaline spike. Unpredictability, Olivia's favorite weapon. His mind raced as he tried to anticipate the test. And then it came, a subtle, almost innocent question meant to unsettle him. "Do you always dress like this?" The simplicity of the question hid its danger. One wrong answer, one flicker of hesitation, could betray him. Alex's throat tightened. He paused, letting a breath escape, then answered carefully, softly, and with unwavering composure, "Sometimes. But tonight, it's not about frequency. It's about presence, confidence, and authenticity." The stranger's lips curved into a faint smile. "Interesting. Most people crumble under observation, yet you maintain poise. I wonder, can you handle complexity?" Alex nodded, a mixture of tension and excitement coursing through him. Olivia's voice was a soft whisper in his mind. "She is confident. She is captivating. You can do this." Every word, every step, every flick of the wrist had to reinforce the persona. Suddenly, a subtle obstacle was introduced. The stranger moved closer, producing a series of small props, a handheld mirror, a delicate fan, even a pair of gloves. Each item required Alex to react naturally, gracefully, maintaining composure under scrutiny. The fan brushed against his face, a soft, unexpected sensation that made his pulse spike. The gloves had to be donned with elegance, yet swiftly, without betraying his nervousness. Every movement, every detail, every sensation heightened the suspense. The room seemed to shrink around him. Every breath, every heartbeat carried weight. The stranger's gaze was unwavering, sharp, and all-encompassing. Alex's mind raced, but he relied on everything Olivia had drilled into him, the poise, the gestures, the subtle expressions. He became her fully, responding with grace, charm, and confidence that was almost indistinguishable from his authentic self. Then came the final test, a direct, unexpected question. "What if someone you care about saw you like this? Would you regret it?" Alex froze briefly, the weight of the words pressing on him. His reflection in the handheld mirror reminded him of the duality he carried, vulnerable yet powerful, exposed yet empowered. He could feel the tension building to a breaking point. And then, with a soft but steady voice, he replied, "Regret is a luxury for those who hide. I've chosen to face it, embrace it, and be present. Tonight, I own every part of her." The stranger studied him silently, eyes narrowing slightly, then a slow nod of approval. "Very well," they said finally. "You've handled unpredictability with composure, grace, and courage. Few could do what you've just done." Alex exhaled, a mixture of relief, exhilaration, and heightened awareness washing over him. The stakes had been raised, and he had emerged stronger, more aware of his dual identity, yet more vulnerable than ever. The thrill of exposure, the fear of discovery, and the intoxicating power of transformation had reached a new peak. As the stranger left, Olivia's hand brushed against his arm, grounding him. "This was only the second step," she whispered. "The real trials are coming. You've survived unpredictability, but now you face the moments that will test every part of her. Every fear, every desire, every boundary will be pushed. Are you ready?" Alex glanced at his reflection, soft features illuminated by the light, the wig perfectly in place, the dress flowing elegantly. He whispered softly to himself, a mixture of determination and anticipation, "I'm ready whatever comes next." The night air outside was electric, but inside, the room hummed with tension. Alex stood at the center, heels pressing into the floor, dress flowing perfectly around his figure. The mirror reflected a poised, delicate version of himself, but behind that reflection was a storm of adrenaline, anticipation, and fear. Tonight, every step, every gesture, every word would be scrutinized. Olivia appeared beside him, her expression unreadable. "This is the true test," she whispered. "No rehearsed answers, no planned movements. This is about instinct, courage, and the ability to embody her under extreme scrutiny." Alex's heart pounded. He had faced observation and unpredictability before, but now the intensity was magnified tenfold. A soft chime announced the arrival of another observer, a figure chosen by Olivia to push him to his absolute limits. This person was skilled at reading people, detecting hesitation, and probing vulnerability. "Hello," the newcomer said, their gaze sharp and assessing. "I've heard about the transformation. I need to see if it's real, if it's complete." Alex felt every muscle tense. The phrase, "if it's real, if it's complete," carried weight he hadn't felt before. Every nerve in his body screamed that one misstep could unravel everything. Yet beneath the fear, a surge of exhilaration coursed through him. This was the ultimate confrontation, the edge of exposure, the moment where transformation could be tested fully. The observers stepped closer, their eyes scanning his posture, his gestures, the subtle nuances of his expression. "Confidence is easy to fake," they said softly. "I want to see authenticity. Can you respond under pressure without breaking?" Alex swallowed, letting the dress sway slightly as he adjusted his stance. He felt the familiar pressure of heels, the delicate weight of jewelry, the wig brushing softly against his shoulders. Each sensation was a reminder of the persona he had carefully cultivated, and now he had to defend it without faltering. A test of physical poise came first. The observer handed him a delicate tray with 2 glasses of water, instructing him to carry it across the room without spilling a drop. It seemed simple, but every detail, the sway of his hips, the balance of his heels, the subtle movements of his fingers, was amplified under scrutiny. One slip, one minor stumble, and the illusion could collapse. Alex focused, muscles coiled like springs, breathing controlled, movements deliberate. Step by step, he crossed the room, heels clicking softly, body swaying elegantly. A bead of sweat slid down his temple, but he maintained composure. The tray remained steady. The observer's eyes flicked with surprise, a faint smile tugging at their lips. "Very good," they said, voice calm but assessing. "Now for the emotional test." Alex's stomach nodded. Emotional test? Olivia had prepared him for observation, unpredictability, and subtle obstacles, but emotional exposure was a different beast. The observer's gaze bore into him, searching for hesitation, doubt, and fear. "You've embraced her physically," the figure continued. "But can you endure judgment? Can you face scrutiny and remain unbroken?" Alex's pulse surged. He felt the full weight of vulnerability pressing down, but he leaned on the lessons Olivia had instilled. Grace, poise, confidence, but most importantly, authenticity. He met the gaze steadily. "I can," he said softly. "Every part of her is real, every moment of transformation earned. I am complete." The observer circled him slowly, assessing posture, balance, and composure. Every flick of the wrist, every tilt of the head, every blink of the eyes was measured. Alex could feel the intensity building, a crescendo of tension that made his palms sweat and his heart race. Yet he maintained the delicate poise he had cultivated, every movement elegant, every expression carefully controlled, every breath synchronized with the rhythm of suspense. Then came the psychological test. The observer produced a small stack of photographs, some familiar, some unfamiliar. "You must describe these, each with confidence and emotion. React naturally, but maintain composure. Do not reveal weakness." Alex's hands shook slightly as he held the first photo, a casual shot of someone who resembled his old self. His mind raced, struggling to balance the duality of identity, the past versus the present, vulnerability versus empowerment. Yet he focused, speaking softly, with poise and elegance. Each description revealed authenticity, yet concealed the hidden truths. By the third photo, the intensity became almost unbearable. His pulse thundered in his ears, every muscle tense. Yet the persona he had embraced fully responded with charm, grace, and controlled emotion. The observer's gaze softened slightly, a mix of surprise and reluctant admiration flickering across their face. "You've done well," they said finally, stepping back. "Most would falter, but you've endured the tests of physical, emotional, and psychological pressure. Few could embody her completely under such scrutiny." Alex exhaled, feeling a mixture of relief and triumph coursing through him. He had faced the edge of exposure, confronted judgment, and survived both physical and emotional challenges. Yet the night was far from over. The most intense moments that would truly define the transformation, were still ahead. Olivia's voice, calm and triumphant, whispered in his mind. "She is ready. The final trials are coming. Stand tall, Alex. Own every part of her. There is no turning back." Alex looked in the mirror, soft features illuminated by the dim light, every detail perfect, the wig, the dress, the heels, the jewelry. He whispered to himself, determination steadying his voice. "I've faced the edge, now I will face the storm." The room seemed to shrink around Alex, shadows stretching long and dark under the faint overhead lights. Every sound, heels tapping, the soft rustle of his dress, his own breath, echoed in his mind, magnifying the suspense. He could feel it, the final stage of testing, where every ounce of composure, every layer of the persona, would be challenged. Olivia's eyes were sharp, unwavering. "This is the moment," she said softly. "No rehearsals. No preparation. Everything you've learned, every movement, every word, every expression, it must be instinctive. The stakes are real, and someone will push you to the brink." Alex's heart raced. He had faced observation, unpredictability, and emotional pressure. He had survived the edge of exposure. But this, the ultimate confrontation, was something else entirely. His pulse surged, the thrill of vulnerability mingling with fear. The thrill, he realized, was part of the transformation itself. The door opened slowly, revealing two figures simultaneously. Both observers carried a quiet authority, their expressions unreadable but commanding. Alex recognized immediately. These were not casual tests. They were orchestrated to push him to his absolute limits, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. "Good evening," one of them said, voice calm yet probing. "We've heard much about you. Or should we say her? Tonight, we'll see if the transformation is complete. If your composure can withstand full scrutiny. If you can survive being fully observed." Alex's pulse hammered. His heels pressed sharply into the floor, the dress clinging softly to his form, the wig brushing his shoulders like a protective veil. He inhaled deeply, centering himself. He was ready, or at least he had to be. The first challenge was immediate. The observers presented a sequence of tasks that required precision, elegance, and poise, balancing, moving across a narrow beam-like path, carrying fragile objects without faltering, and responding instantly to unexpected instructions. Each task was simple in theory but amplified by pressure and observation. Each misstep could unravel everything. Alex focused, muscles taut, movements measured. Every step was deliberate. Every gesture was precise. The world narrowed to the rhythm of his heartbeat and the subtle instructions whispered by the observers. With each task completed flawlessly, his confidence surged, but so did the intensity of the scrutiny. Then came the psychological test. The observers began asking personal questions, probing deeply into fears, past regrets, and inner desires. Every answer required honesty, yet had to maintain the persona of her. Hesitation could betray him. Vulnerability could unravel him. "Tell us," one said, leaning slightly closer, "how it feels to fully embrace this identity, knowing that any slip could expose everything." Alex's throat tightened, beads of sweat forming along his hairline. But he drew strength from every practice, every rehearsal, every moment of transformation. "It's exhilarating," he said softly, voice steady. "Terrifying, vulnerable, but also powerful. Because it's real. Every part of her is real." The observers exchanged subtle glances, recognizing the authenticity behind the composed exterior. But then came the twist, A sudden, unexpected challenge. One observer approached with a camera, its lens focusing sharply. "You'll pose naturally," they instructed. "Any hint of hesitation or awkwardness will be noticed." Alex's stomach nodded. The camera's lens was a magnifying glass, capturing not just appearance, but the subtle undercurrents of emotion: fear, thrill, hesitation, or confidence. He adjusted the wig, smoothed the dress, and lifted his chin. Every motion became an extension of the persona, every glance deliberate. As the camera clicked repeatedly, capturing him from multiple angles, Alex felt the thrill of exposure mixing with the terror of discovery. He realized something vital. The persona he had created was more than a disguise. It was a shield, a weapon, and a revelation all at once. The thrill was inseparable from the risk. Finally, the observer stepped back, eyes sharp but impressed. "You've survived every test, every scrutiny, every unexpected twist," one said softly. "Few could maintain this balance under such pressure. You've proven authenticity, resilience, and mastery of the persona." Alex exhaled, knees trembling slightly, adrenaline coursing through him like electricity. The ultimate exposure had tested every limit: physical balance, emotional depth, psychological endurance, and social composure. He had faced judgment, scrutiny, and potential failure, and emerged unbroken. Olivia approached, a subtle smile on her lips. "You've done well," she whispered. "But the night isn't over. One final moment will seal the transformation completely. Are you ready for it?" Alex gazed at his reflection in the mirror, the soft features illuminated by the dim lights, the wig perfect, the dress flawless, heels steady. He whispered to himself, determination rising above fear. "I am ready. Whatever comes next, I am her." The room was nearly silent, the air thick with anticipation. Every movement, every breath, every glance seemed magnified. Alex's heels clicked softly against the floor as he adjusted his posture, the dress flowing elegantly around him, the wig perfectly framing his face. The previous challenges had tested him physically, emotionally, and psychologically, but this, the final test, was about total exposure. Olivia stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with that mix of authority and mischief that always left Alex both anxious and exhilarated. "This is it," she said softly. "One last moment. Complete embodiment. Total presence. There's no turning back." Alex's heart pounded. The previous observers had left, but the weight of judgment felt heavier than ever. This moment wasn't about proving himself to anyone else. It was about confronting the ultimate truth, whether he could fully own the persona he had been building. A sudden chime announced a new presence, a familiar voice that made his pulse spike. "Alex," the voice asked, curious, probing. It was someone from his past, someone who had known him before any transformation, someone who could instantly detect even the slightest hesitation or slip. Alex froze for a heartbeat, then took a deep, steadying breath. He had trained for this. Every movement, every word, every glance had led to this moment. Slowly, he smiled, soft and elegant, the perfect balance of charm and poise. "Hello," he said lightly, voice melodic and lilting, perfectly in character. The familiar figure stepped closer, scanning him carefully, their eyes lingering on the details: the dress, the heels, the wig, the subtle gestures. "You look different," they said, trying to hide the shock in their voice. "I didn't expect this." Alex's pulse surged. Every second was a test. The thrill of exposure mingled with fear. But he remained poised, every movement intentional. "It's a new experience," he replied softly. "Something I've embraced fully." The figure's gaze sharpened, curiosity and disbelief blending together. "I've never seen you like this," they whispered. "It's remarkable." Then came the ultimate challenge, a direct, unplanned interaction that demanded immediate authenticity. The figure extended a hand, testing social composure. Alex hesitated only for a fraction of a second, long enough for adrenaline to spike, but then smiled and extended his delicate hand gracefully. The handshake, or rather handshake-turn touch, was flawless, poised, and elegant. A wave of exhilaration coursed through him. Every previous test, the balance, the composure, the emotional exposure, the camera scrutiny culminated here. Alex realized something profound. The persona he had cultivated was not just a disguise. It was an extension of himself, a revelation of inner courage and confidence he had never fully embraced before. The familiar figure stepped back slightly, nodding, impressed despite themselves. You've changed, they murmured. Not just outside, but inside. I can see it. You're different. Stronger. Alex's chest tightened, a mixture of pride, fear, and exhilaration flooding him. He had survived the ultimate test of exposure, judgment, and scrutiny. But even as relief washed over him, Olivia's voice echoed in his mind. This is just the beginning. The final seal is yet to come. One moment remains. Suddenly, Olivia placed a small, ornate mirror on the floor in front of him. Look, she instructed softly. See yourself fully, with no barriers, no pretenses. Face the truth of who you are and who she has become. Alex bent slightly, the heels pressing firmly into the ground, and gazed into the mirror. His reflection stared back, every detail of the transformation perfect, yet imbued with authenticity. The lavender dress clung gracefully, the wig shimmered, makeup flawless. But more than the exterior, it was the presence, the confidence, the poise, the subtle strength that struck him most. A wave of emotion surged, fear, exhilaration, pride, vulnerability, all intertwined. He whispered softly, almost himself, I am her. Fully. Completely. Olivia smiled, her eyes softening, but a hint of mischief lingered. Good. You've survived every test, every scrutiny, every challenge. But remember, the world beyond this room doesn't wait. Every glance, every judgment, every exposure could unravel the delicate balance you've achieved. Before Alex could respond, the door creaked. A shadow fell across the room, tall, deliberate, and commanding. A new presence, unannounced, unanticipated, someone who could see through everything, someone whose judgment could shatter the fragile world Alex had carefully constructed. He froze. The heels pressed sharply into his feet. The dress clung perfectly, but a chill ran down his spine. Every muscle tensed, every heartbeat amplified. Olivia's hand brushed his arm lightly, grounding him, whispering, Now face the final moment. She is ready. The shadow stepped forward, voice low, curious, and deliberate. So, this is the one they've been hiding, the figure murmured. I wonder, how long can she maintain this illusion before it all falls apart? Alex's pulse raced. The final moment had arrived. Exposure, judgment, and suspense collided. He was fully her, yet vulnerable, observed, and tested like never before. One misstep could unravel everything. One slip could expose every secret, every truth, every hidden desire. And then the screen cut to black. The shadow that had entered the room stood silently, its presence commanding, eyes fixed on Alex with an intensity that made his heart pound violently. The room, once filled with a soft warmth of light and controlled observation, now felt like a stage under the harsh glare of judgment. Every movement he made, every subtle gesture, every twitch of expression was magnified, scrutinized, and weighed. Alex's heels pressed firmly against the floor, his fingers fidgeting slightly as he tried to maintain composure. The dress hugged him gracefully, the wig settled perfectly, and his makeup gleamed under the dim light, but the exterior perfection did nothing to calm the storm inside. This was more than a test. This was the threat of discovery, the potential collapse of every carefully cultivated secret, every vulnerable truth he had been hiding. Olivia stepped slightly behind him, her presence grounding but also a reminder of the stakes. Her hand brushed lightly against his arm. Remember, she whispered, she doesn't know you yet, but she will notice everything. Every hesitation, every doubt. She can see it. Own it. Alex's pulse hammered. He swallowed, trying to force calm into his voice. I'm ready, he said softly, letting the persona flow naturally. The shift wasn't just physical, it was complete. Every curve, every gesture, every glance exuded confidence, elegance, and femininity. Yet beneath it all, the fear of being unmasked lingered like a shadow, persistent and heavy. The newcomer moved closer, voice low but precise. "I've heard rumors," she said, scanning Alex from head to toe.
"People say you've changed."
"That you're different. But I want to see for myself. Can you show me who she really is?" Alex's breath caught. Every syllable carried weight. Who she really was he ready to reveal the core of his transformation, the part of himself that existed only in private. The adrenaline coursed through his body as he slowly adjusted the dress, ensuring every movement appeared natural, fluid, and confident. He raised his chin, shoulders back, and stepped forward, each motion deliberate, calculated, and fearless. The observer's eyes narrowed, scanning the subtle nuances, the tilt of the head, the delicate sway of the hips, the way his fingers hovered gracefully over the edge of the dress. Every detail mattered. One misstep, one faltering heartbeat, could betray everything. "You move differently," she said softly, almost to herself. "Not like before. Confident, aware, elegant. But there's something underneath. I can see it. The secret. Can she hide it?" Alex's chest tightened. The words were not a challenge. They were a probe, a scalpel cutting into the layers of his persona. His mind raced. Should he retreat into safety, abandon the persona he had fought so hard to create? Or should he embrace it fully, risk exposure, and claim ownership of every part of her? He took a deep breath. The heels pressed firmly, the dress flowed perfectly, the wig framed his face like a halo. Every detail he had honed over countless trials, the poise, the gestures, the subtle expressions, was now under scrutiny. Alex smiled softly, deliberately, letting warmth, charm, and vulnerability mingle seamlessly. "She is real," he whispered, voice steady but tinged with emotion. "Every part of her. Fully complete." The newcomer stepped back slightly, tilting her head, curiosity and incredulity blending together. "Is that so?" she murmured. "And if someone else saw, if Olivia saw, would she approve? Would she accept it? Or would it all collapse?" Alex's pulse thundered. The room seemed to shrink around him, every sound amplified, the soft rustle of fabric, the faint click of heels, the subtle intake of breath. The tension was almost unbearable. He had survived observation, unpredictability, and intense emotional scrutiny. But now, the stakes were higher than ever. Suddenly, a faint noise from behind, a door creaking, a whisper, a footstep, made him freeze. His heartbeat raced, adrenaline spiking. Was it Olivia? Or was it someone else, someone who could shatter the fragile balance he had achieved? He glanced at the mirror, the reflection revealing not just his transformation, but the fear and exhilaration interwoven in every detail. Olivia's voice was a soft whisper at his ear. "This is it. The moment she notices everything. Hold it. Own it. Don't falter." Alex took another deep breath, raising his chin higher. His reflection stared back, a delicate, elegant, confident version of himself. He whispered softly, "I am her.
Completely.
Fully. There's no turning back." The newcomer stepped closer, eyes narrowing as if she could see right through him. "So, this is her," she said, almost to herself, a mixture of awe and skepticism in her voice. "The one they've been hiding, the secret, the transformation. Can it survive the truth?" Alex's body tensed. He realized that every secret, every hidden desire, every carefully constructed layer of his persona was on the verge of exposure. One slip, one hesitation, one flicker of doubt, and everything could unravel. Then, just as the room held its collective breath, a sudden, sharp sound echoed, a phone ringing, a door opening elsewhere, a shadow shifting. The moment froze, tension peaking. And just like that, the screen cut to black. The cliffhanger left everything unresolved. Would Alex be discovered? Would Olivia's plan hold? Could his dual identity survive full exposure? Viewers were left on the edge, heart pounding, desperate to see the outcome.